Here it is. Okay. This is WNDC NDC. WNDC NDC stands for We in the Crib and You Ain't NDC. And um tonight I just want to attempt to try to get a few things off of my head. Uh you see the title so you can understand where I'm going with this. If you happen to be on YouTube, will you please jump over there and say hello, add, subscribe, share. Let let me know how this is coming off. I'm also on Instagram off my phone just for a backup, just to see where this is going. All right. So yeah, let me start this way.
Now, the great Ujo
Okay.
will perform a feat of prestidigitation.
I don't even know.
To the annals of magicdom today.
I don't know how I can thank you all enough. You've all been such true friends.
I don't even know if you
I'd
can
take
hear
my
this.
hat off to you if I had one.
Huh. Well, here it is. Okay, here it is. I um I've been online and whole nine playing with this since way back when you had to get a modem, you had to get a computer, you had to find a way of connecting it through the phone line, and you had to you know um do your thing. You had to go through some hoops, and there wasn't a whole lot online, and so trying to find those chat lines. Actually, humans. Yeah, I'm smoking. I'm trying to medicate, get my head right, try to focus because ooh, this is really honestly a heavy on my head subject, and I hope that some people can pick up on some of this and maybe learn a little bit, maybe not. But I need a shot, damn it, because this don't make no sense. Online dating, online interaction. All right. From what I can see, the basic bottom line has been that, in theory, this whole online realm has actively changed our whole social being. And I don't mean that like in a kind of off to the sly way. I mean, we're now in a state of smartphones and Bluetooth and even IA and things of that nature. We're now in the state of virtual reality and metaverse and all these other things. And yet, one of the things I used to love about being connected to the internet back in the day when it was fair and far between, was actually being able to reach out and connect with the few people that actually had the benefit of being connected online or whatnot. And I will admit that I've met some very genuine and unique people in the process of it. I remember back prior to even AOL, when you had to really search. That's a whole different thing. I don't think anybody that's online today, watching it on their smartphone or anything, can even imagine how and see the little running man and a whole night. Man, I don't think y'all seem to understand having to pay for a landline or find somebody that you could tie up their landline with hooking up your modem and getting online. I'm making this connection. Good weed. Man, my inner ADD. HD and HD. These all the help I can get right now because in my mind, there's so many places that I would love to be able to just leave you with. Yes, at some point going to get better at being able to put out an outline so I can stay on track. But yeah, for those who know me know that I tend to speak in parables and not in sentences. So this is going to be fun. My main objective here and what I'm feeling the need to get off my mind right now is I go so far back in this online getting to know you people kind of concept that uh that some of the initial hustles games and whatnot that people used to play. I remember back AOL with maybe finding chat lines and this that the other, but then we had Black Planet. Black Planet was cool because you could make your profile and whatnot, you could share all of that, and you could jump on people's DMs and blah blah blah, and it was good because it felt like our spot. And I can honestly admit that I've got a few friends that we go all the way back to Black Planet. Some that go all the way back to early Yahoo or even AOL. And we're still out here today and connected. And yet I'd say 98% of all of the people that I would come in contact with, excuse me, today, seem to be on such a different kind of mindset that I'm wondering if my audio is coming in correctly. It looks like it's coming in because it says it's coming in, but I just don't know. Just don't know if this shit is coming through. I wish I could get you to find somebody that could come back and probably be able to let me know if you can hear this or anything, because yeah, this shit is all right. I digress. So back in those days and the earlier internet days, the one thing that I really dug about it was at least when you did find people, I mean, you had that 50-50 chance of finding, people who are seriously, like not just talking into, because see, this internet thing, this box, this World Wide Web thing gave a certain kind of fantasy to a lot of people. That was what made people, go out there and have shit like liquid courage, stuff like that, and yet, shit. We all know now through all of the social medias and where we're at, TikTok, this, that, and the other, we got people now that are having interactions that are so intense that, people rolling up on you. Hey, yo, I dare you to come find me. They rolling up right there. Well, I'm right here. Oh, man. Back in those days, it was so different. And yet people would hide behind these things. It was kind of like that Good Times show with Michael when he had the CB. And then there, and he living in the ghetto. Come on now, wait for it. And he ends up talking to this girl, Fun Girl, and they get close and this, then only to find out she stayed in the same damn projects with a CB. And she's in a wheelchair with play with his emotions and everything. Now we call those things like catfishing. And we beyond all of that. We got things now like ghosting and cancel culture and all this other stuff. And this is grown folks, Now, mind you, the whole time that I've been aware of this whole internet realm, I'm an adult. This ain't something that I just kind of snuck. As a kid, and most of the people that I deal with are adults too. And yet, I often think about things like the 6 degrees of separation and whatnot, and how people just play this game of, oh, I'm looking for this, that, and the other, a friend or soulmate or this, that, and the other. And for most people, they're less traveled and not as accustomed to understanding different cultures, regional dialects, and whatnot, to be that deep. And yet, now we're open on such a unique level as humans on this earth during 2022, rolling into the fall. Um, Due to the mere fact that we are capable of actually connecting on a one-to-one basis in real time, enough for people to not just see you, hear you, but they can feel you, they can relate, they can make this contact that in many cases can last far beyond just this digital connection. And yet, what has caused more than anything else is even more so of a blatant kind of dysfunctional kind of stigma or frenzy where people literally, talk a good game, but don't really, I wasn't really trying to this, that, and the other. And yet, for the first initial time of my whole internet interaction and whatnot, or association, I can honestly say that up until the era of maybe Facebook going into Facebook dating, I never really had a problem with reaching out and finding really real people who could really, relate to each other and not just necessarily, indulge into some kind of degradance or whatever, and then dip, like because getting to know people is not just, finding out about them, but them finding out about you to the point where you can both recognize and enjoy the actual knowing of sorts, friendship, kinship, things of that nature. And all that shit is like missing more with a lot of people, while some people out there watching this might be like, well, I don't get it. I'm cool. I'm not really talking about how you are. This is about me. I've been a unique kind of eccentric being a lot longer than most people of color would even, question, well, what's that mean, bro? You trying to say something? And I'm like, yeah, what I'm trying to say is that I was an adult, sexually spoiled person for 2/3 of my life. No lie. I mean, the Lord knows my heart. Believe me, each one of those were heaven blessed enough that I truly believe that each and every one of those connections, up to, those points actually created such a association of sorts that if in fact they could be capable of at least admitting, that we have biblically known each other or whatnot, we still would have the ability to be unshamefully correspondent with each other. Here, I'm talking like I'm in the Don King School of English. So, only in America, because it is only in America. We had booty calls and all this other stuff. And, hey, KC, if you don't mind, if you can look on my profile and go jump over to my Yahoo and see if you can catch this live on it. And if you can, at least let me know if you could hear something like that. I appreciate that. All right, back to where I'm at. But this shouldn't have got so deep now that one of the things that I started disliking about this whole online dating kind of concept is just the mere fact that people started really honestly, abusing it a little bit, long distance relationships. Yeah, okay. I come from an era where people used to talk about how being pen pals or whatnot, writing back to each other, putting, lace panties or your smell in the envelope and sending it all the way across the planet, uh, created some unique associations with humankind. And now we're at a point where people are sending dick pics and, having cyber, things. And even now are sex toys. Man, I could not find anything to justify any possibility of associating with somebody from a distance without personal um uh connection or whatnot, especially from distances where you know damn well you ain't going way there and they ain't going way there, and actually, excuse that or accept that as emotional, this, that, and the other, until I found out that now they got Bluetooth, uh Bluetooth sex toy type things now, where literally, you can be using yours and they can be using theirs on a real time in that doggone little Bluetooth kind of a thing without wires. And yet it's so deep that they even got, like, probably seen the commercial about the hug blanket, where you could put the blanket on and you could feel like a hug. And imagining all of that and this virtual reality thing coming. And I can see how that shit's about to get, to the point where for most people out there, they'd be like, man, I ain't trying to play with that, because you would be like lost in that. And yet we, the dinosaurs, to a lot of things that people are about to be into with all of this stuff that's happening now, when we get way too old to even be ready to be able to play around in that. I mean, most of us really, can't go so far as, this game shit and whatnot. And yet, there's so much other things that are going on right now in the world, not just in the world, but in the planet. I mean, not just in the planet, but in the planets in our historic time frame today. And doesn't really require you to have any belief in a religion to understand just how deep this kind of subject is to me, just due to the mere fact that, this 2022, going through all of this little area of retrogrades and whatnot, and these little subtle connections that we make with certain people on our profiles and whatnot, actually have more of a benefit, a resource that in most cases is more impossible to actually achieve, just due to the mere fact that you live day to day with all these people in and around you. And and technically speaking, the thought of you actually being as cool with me, that instead of you just watching this, you would be right here in the crib, and they ain't. And now that I've gotten older and a little bit more eccentric and whatnot, it's become more difficult to find, suitable beings that are capable of indulging into this amount of, coexistence without the fear of having to snatch and pull and rape themselves away from all the other things in their life that are what they are to them, just due to the mere fact that, here we are. And as deep of a person that I profess to be, the few people who have taken this ride with me up to date can honestly say that, man, if I really honestly can just produce, a more vivid image of what's in my head and how I've lived in the course of where I'm at, it would be, if nothing else, entertaining, just due to the mere fact that they could really stamp a lot of those eras. And yet here I am with okay, I'm gonna tell you. All right. I live a pretty much lower state of life that some people would expect for you to be living. I'm not one of them church going, community, rural, type people. Nor am I one of those bound by that dollar bottom end folks that believe in, that Masonic manner of living, just I got the money, I spend it. It's what I'm supposed to do. No offense to anybody, but what's been getting me. Okay. You ready? So we're gonna talk about audacity. All right. So all of this, if you follow me, then you understand. I'm just getting this off my mind, but if you know me, you know how I'm coming to you and how it possibly looks from, no shade on, all these common people out here. But I've been running into my fair share of actual people that's sliding in trying to act like they're this other people in order for them to actually rather do whatever they think they're capable of doing while they entertain your emotional attentions on a constant basis. You meet somebody on these internet lines or these data lines or social media or whatnot, and after a while y'all connect to a point where they really want to, and the thing that really gets me is most of them are the type of people that they just tend to overly ask too much information from you that in most cases are more in line with the basic information you can find on their profiles. And yet, hey, how are you? Good to meet you. This, the other. You asked the question, okay, so what attracted you to my profile? What, this, that, and the other? Oh, because I like you and I'm looking for love. And this, that, and the other. You sitting back and you're going, oh my God. If I could get real people who are really capable of actually really identifying the value in my self, enough to know there is a benefit towards partnership, at least I would have some more sense of respect and humanity, or the basic generalized humanity, as you would call it. And I think a lot of that now has attached itself to my military grade PTSD that I've managed, just due to the mere fact that, and talking with my parents, I remember my father, once sitting back and he's going, why do you mess with the kind of women that you mess with and whatnot? You live in this environment like this. We did not raise you to be this way. Now, for some people looking at my image and have followed me for a while, you probably would find this quite comical, and just understanding that, technically speaking, they're right, and looking back at how they invested into my evolution, I can see how they expected for me to be in the Huxtable children direction. My pops was like, man, you got this ghetto fetish for these doggone women. And I'm like, oh, so what did you expect? And he's like, well, I expected you to be a professor at one of these little colleges. Probably married to a little Jewish French chick or something. And I thought about that because, for a lot of us people of color, we really honestly have a certain basic image that really evolves around just our comfort, man, I want my sisters, I want this, that, and the other. Yeah, but when you are such a metaphysical rare gem in itself, and your biggest problem is that the majority of the people in your environment who are accessible are incapable of actually being able to, see more than what it is they're looking for. Oh, you look like you ain't got no money. Oh, you sound like you broke. Well, I don't need a broke man. This, that, and the other. You sitting back there and you're going, yeah, but this, well, they're not looking at your professional wealth, your clearance, your caliber of character, your compatibility, your lack of dysfunctional distress. You know, um, I got no history of being involved in anything in my life that caused me to basically be able to disrupt. Oh, you out on that thing. Next thing you know, you'll be selling your ass. The only thing I'd sell my soul for is for a better soul. And the only person that I could possibly do that with is whoever can convince me that they created the one I got. And yet, I just can't find anybody that actually is serious about their day-to-day enough to come at you in a way where, first and foremost, people play too much. I can't tell you the amount of time that I actually be, just gallivanting around social media, happen to notice some real cool shit about some real cool people somewhere else, and might reach out at a certain point in time that might earn me a few points of, oh, gee, thanks. Wow. And we've been friends for a long time, and this, that, and the other. And regardless of what it is that you may have just reached out and happened to touch these people at the right time, at the wrong time. I was in the right place, but it must have been the wrong hole. At first I was afraid, I was petrified. I kept thinking that I could never live on the vanilla side. And so I got over to the dark side of that, and only to find out that, for people of color, no matter how much they want to say that they about this lifestyle or this, that, and the other, the reality is they don't live in a state of flying that doggone bloodstained banner, and basically being able to enforce the ability for, others to do the same, because that ain't what we do culturally as communities. You got to go over and play with them LBGTQ people, to even get that kind of run. And yet we're talking about dating. I was at this appointment at the VA, and finally I got to see this doctor. And this doctor was I would say Asian, maybe Oriental-ish genetics, but it's like second generation born on this dirt and in this area. You graduate from a DMV high school. People are like, what does that mean? That means your cheerleaders had rhythm. Okay. And yet, okay. I'm having a real hard time because I'm not as out of shape in my existence as my age professes I should be. And therefore, a lot of the folklore that comes behind that is falls on a lot of cougar-minded people who, in most cases, still could not quite metaphysically handle the journey that I've been on all my life. Where I want to come in and get at this, but I didn't want to stay in this. I don't want to be this, and I'm like, oh man. Not that you have to really be that serious about till death do you part. But more people really honestly lose the fact that every interaction we do, whether we like it or not, has the uh ability to be something that, that reason, season, lifetime thing. And yet we have so many people that are living their lives on a day-to-day basis outside of a spiritual minded uh perversion of sorts. We want to, live a life where, we want to be, more protective of our karma. But Lord knows my heart, and this bitch is on my last nerve, and blah, 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 and this, that, and the other. And next thing you know, these interactions we have online tend to get skewed as you go backwards and forwards, is wondering where some of these people in some of these areas dropped off, when the last person they reached out to was someone that they had never even considered valid in doing so. And in most cases, most people are definitely not for, so shit. And I ain't trying to play that um that relocating shit. Even if the shit that's going on in my life across the country, across the world, is at such a level that I'm ready to leave every last bit of it, just not go halfway across the planet, because that's really the mark of some blind faith that everyone fears being wrong on. Even when most of us spiritually can now admit that, looking back at some of the things that went right and was wrong, and wrong and they became right, that, well, if it was that bad, the punishment for us would be, and I guess in some cases, um this online dating thing is getting on my goddamn nerves. And I know that it's not their fault, it's my fault, because first and foremost, I'm more capable of being attracted or gained attention online than I am in person. My very own daughter used to talk about how, oh, daddy, we ain't gonna never get you married the way you at. I'm gonna have to teach you how to. And the awkward part was, she was right, more than I could possibly even engage into all of that, due to my life circumstances and hers as well. And yet, I think that's something that's existing in so many of us adults, everywhere. And it's even more difficult for anybody to reach out and go, you know what? You know, you ain't a bad person if you could just stop stopping yourself from stopping yourself, and possibly even, accept that the best advice is the advice that you least wanted to be offered, and yet um, possesses some form of truth that you're not comfortable with parading as such. You know, we are right now in 2022 in the fall, on this planet, on this planet that's literally, in a bipolar state, that's not due to really honestly stop, and whatever has triggered it, that only happens every 26,000 years, and we as humans just happen to be stuck right now, right today, right here on this earth, as it's doing some shit that's changing the history of what Homo sapiens, humans, mankind, earthlings have ever been capable of doing in mass. And yet it's happening so fast that for a lot of us, living our everyday lives, keeping the structure that exists in every community and area, you know, um, we're stuck in that somebody still has to do it, you know, while we're dealing with this rapture like um uh existence with these surges of of karmatic energies driven by, social conflict and whatnot, that on any given day you can find something to be totally depressed about that exists on this earth that you wish you could change, that even if you could find a large majority of humans on this earth to join you in it, it still wouldn't be powerful enough to be able to rearrange where it's going, because it's round and round and round we go. Where we stop, nobody knows. And yet, in the state of this, we're still, many of us, especially single, aware, awoke kind of type people, not woke, but awoke type people, are even more so having more discomforts and frustrations with it, just due to the mere fact that just the mere ability of us not necessarily being as extremely externally um, frustrated or adamant about our current struggles and traumas and whatnot. The mere fact that others do, others are out of state of, they just they still at bipolar for real, and yet not necessarily know that it's like plants, it's like animals. We're tribalistically being affected in a very unique one-to-one basis with the same amount of intensity of bullshit that's expected to be able to push itself into you in order for you to evolve into who we're supposed to be by 2033. Now, I'd like to say that again, but I don't think that anybody's really catching this, and I'm hoping that they do. And I'm really even hoping that it can be even local. All right. So I digress. So I'm back at the VA. And I'm getting my eyes checked again. And I happen to walk in with this doctor practitioner female. Whew. And you're sitting back and you're realizing that my pops was right. My father was right. He basically stated that the level of caliber, of character, of cohabitable, compatible female flesh at the state that he knows me to be most deserving at is almost socially impossible to gain any form of cohabitability, let alone access at all, just due to the mere fact of the fear. Oh my God. There's a doctor that's out there that's so sexy that the possibility of us cohabitating, partnering, could only be more of a benefit just due to the mere fact that if nothing else, we're governmentally certified. And yet, the level of that transition could only benefit someone who could see themselves invested into improving mind without the typical what's on your table, you know. the thing that makes this even worse is that my pops was right. I'm in a state of being, I can't really change much of this. I can turn on and put on a suit and tie, this and that. I'm still scared the shit out of the average person. Rightfully so. Because I'm not for, that vanilla kind of thing. I mean, if I bask into all the things that spiritually is due to be something for us, whoo. Anywho, and yet people can dream about that shit, but day to day, most people are lucky. They get to stay at, me, girl, I'm crazy. Even when I want to be uncrazy, this, that, and other, if I'm not crazy, then my craziness basically keeps all of the people that evolve around my craziness. I can't see myself just taking off and being with somebody from another realm of the country or the world. Respectfully, with an upgrade. And yet, my black ass, my black sadistic deviant ass, respectfully, I'm struggling like shit because I don't want to bottom feed too much, because in my watchovers are already at a cringe state due to the mere fact that they're going, the fuck is he doing with these people? And yet you can't get what you would actually wish to have a piece of. People are like, so what kind of chick do you think you'd like to actually be compatible or partnering with? And I'm like, well, one of them rice people. One of them rice chicks would be kind of nice. And that could only be funny to people that are in that era of industry or employment, to actually look at me and just think about me being the life partner of Condoleezza or Sharon Rice or one of them kind of political people who has a pimpishly perplexing person as their mate, their partner. And yet, it's kind of like you can't really settle for someone who basically just wants to party and bullshit, and you can at least provide them with that, knowing that that's not going to be enough. More than anything else, it's the mere fact that what I'm finding the most is that anything and anyone, most of the majority of the people that I literally reach out to or try to attempt to, oh, you could be nice, or you could be nice, are the people that, in most cases, are most capable of taking more of an offense to the mere fact that you picked me. My bad. And yet, the most beneficial caliber of people out there that are in the same situation, but may not quite be open to the possibility of, considering their association with me not being by a bottom feeding kind of gesture, more so than a very unique twist to yeah. And so here I am at the doctor's office in the VA, and we sitting there and we're having a moment. And that's when that moment really hit me, and it really hit me to a point where it's like, you know what? Yes. Ooh, you came in and we had a moment. We had a moment that both of us realized that, you know what? In a different world, some enchanted evening, I tear your sexy ass up. Woo! And yet we had to both stay as professional as possible. And I really, honestly, really found a lot of assistance in seeing her little kids' pictures that she intricately placed on the wall, on the way out of her office, in a manner of Every time she looked in that way, no matter where she was, she could look back and go. And I mean, it was so deep that at this point, when they sitting there and they usually keep like their crucifix or something on their thing to remind them that I'm just only in blood of Jesus or something. And they sitting back there ripping, running that motherfucker. And they looking at you and going, yeah, boy, you just don't seem to understand. You can get it. But how can I even have the doggone nerve to have this kind of a deep, dark? Oh my God. This is what Harlequin romance used to be for a lot of white women back in the day. That were actually always open to this some dark stranger, tall, dark stranger, man. Sneak in and man, but I'm getting people that are out here that these people are so lame in their game. Had one sit back around and I'm like, why is this perfectly totally white type chick trying to come at me? And I'm like, ma'am, are you sure you're really barking up the right tree? Do you see me? Now you see you. Now you see me, you see you. Do you understand? Our association at any given point will be something socially challenging of sorts. And I'm a Washingtonian, so it's not like, I'm saying this shit because I got felonies or anything like that. I don't. But the mere fact that I've got some other courtesies of sorts that will require you to not basically consider, you probably, got some. No, I only have a baby mama that will whoop your ass. That unless you really honestly, you know. Can't even get laid. Okay. Here's the worst part. All right, so you figure, all right, if I can't, I'm out here on Plenty of Fish and OK Cupid, and I'm having an occasion where these same particular profiles keep popping up. And every time they pop up, we would attempt to reach out, and then, that shit would go, and then, and this is happening for years, and yet each time. And so one of them in particular, I finally, they're like, ooh, you're into that lifestyle thing, and I'm really interested in that, and blah, 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 blah. And then I'm like, oh, well, let's talk about this. And he's like, oh, by the way, I'm a sex worker. I mean, I'm a masseuse, but I'm a sex worker type thing. And I'm like, well, can we date? He's like, honestly, all of my dating comes through my work. And yet, the mindset and the structure into which she exists in is so identified differently in the lifestyle that I exist in. Okay, you sit back and you notice that they're going through frenzy because they're in their state of having continuous, clients that they service and whatnot. The majority of them are in a state of bottoming or submissive type people that, technically speaking, the most malicious people, masochistic people are submissive men because they will come at you any other way you want. And yet, their biggest drive is making sure that you don't basically find whatever it is that would really honestly give you more of the dexterity to not necessarily have to deal with the needy asses. They give you everything but what you want. They call me the devil's dominant. That sucks. In a way, it kind of means that not that I'm intentionally driven to actually feel the need to dominate someone, but that I'm structured in more of a practitioner mindset where I'm not trying to heal someone or fix someone or this, that, and the other, but I'm more aware of the structure, the need, the instinct that can be caused due to a lack of awareness. even protection, even concern. You know, I found that one of the most awkward feelings that I can transmit to people is a feeling of me possibly being in their head a little bit deeper than they would be comfortable with in certain areas that they typically are not comfortable with admitting exist. I'm not saying this because I'm a dreamer. I'm saying this because I've witnessed times that I've been in environments where, the biggest conflict has really honestly been the mere fact that as a person of color, the cultural conflict that could exist just simply on the audacity of us actually coexisting due to the mere fact that now with this whole social media involvement, I remember, okay, uh, another kind of issue that I've had dating has been due to the mere fact that I'm a disco kid. When I moved from DC back to Atlanta and the whole nine, 14, 15, 16 years old, but technically speaking, I was an advanced kid. By the time that I got down there, it wasn't so much about, trying to convince these people that I had any form of intelligence, and yet I lived a double life. By day, I was required to be identified by a certain caliber, a certain level of consciousness. Oh my God, what's going on? These are. I am. Gotta be thankful for cannabis. But when you have these moments that can be so epic that, it's like some Beauty and the Beast dumb shit. You sitting back there and realizing I'm just a average hippie type person of color, of elderly age, who just happens to be on what most people would think is some fantasy egotistical a protest in machismo that's basically in today's current state more irrelevant to the common existence of the popularity of possible partners. Excuse me. And it's so really because even as I sit here going through this last little couple of minutes of rambling, it's almost like that Mother Teresa, Joan of Arcish, I don't know. There's some other different kind of characters you would think would come with that Now we're in this kind of situation where for people of color, the majority of womankind will sit back and be like, you know what? I ain't trying to, pick up and have no man you found over there at the gas station in the bottom of the hood trying to act like, my 8-figure fucking life, and lifestyle, you know, uh, is his domain. And, he's the this, that, and the other. Yet nobody really is that concerned about that, more so than they're concerned about them. And when you have this kind of uh provider type mentality, that empathy of sorts, where the worst thing about some people like us is how we just happen to notice people that you can sit back there and be like, ooh, you really ain't that bad if you just had a little bit of this. But I don't think that if you got that, and unless it was something that was strong enough to keep you focused on, rather you can get with this or you can get with that, to be able to pull that off, because this world has got so many different obstacles and whatnot, that whole more money more problem shit is affecting more people who really honestly can't handle more money or more problems. And yet they keep desiring people who they would wish would be more of a benefit, and yet they're not quite prepared to jump on that benefit and giddy up on it. It's such a faith. It's the substance of things hoped for. And yet the ability for people to, I've been on these dating sites with the same damn profile, ain't changed it in 5, 6, 7 years. And yet I'm getting people that are boom, blah, 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 still every now and then. And the deepest thing about it is, it's not that they're like, aha, I caught you in my web. Actually, in some cases, a couple of them have been. I had this one chick off of Plenty of Fish, local, that actually, jumped up in my DMs, and she was dead ass serious. And, she was really, you could tell that she was really stepping out on some, yeah, okay, all right, no, serious. I'm serious about, all the way down to the point where, I was like, okay, yeah, sure, lady. I done checked out your resume and the whole nine, and I'm pretty sure that you just barking on my pants leg. And she's like, no. She's like, well, let's meet for breakfast. And I'm like, yeah. And so I'm already in a mindset where most people who say let's do something, even if I say yeah, and I would even be in a state of it'd be nice if you did, I also intentionally make myself expect for it to not be that way enough that I not stop anything that should be my plan for that time. And I mean, so if it does happen, I get the choice of canceling or not. And yet, being in that mindset where knowing that they saying all of, yeah, it's gonna happen, and you're like, yeah, look, lady, man, I'm so used to, yeah, people, to do that dreaming thing. Oh, we're gonna meet in the morning. Okay. Oh, what happened? You know what? I'm sorry, something happened. And they said, how about we meet for lunch? Oh, yeah, all right. Hey, well, what about an afternoon snack? I just said to them, my bad. I'm like, look, man, what about dinner? Oh, here we go. We done went from this, that, and the other, and they're like, look, I'll tell you what. Look, I'm gonna just pack a bag. And you got any weed? Yeah. It's like, all right. I'm gonna be down there, hopefully before midnight. You go with that. I'm packing, I'm like, oh well shit. Insult to injury. You sit back and you try to be as vanilla as possible, and accepting the mere fact that this respectful chick might just be having a really fucked up day and not necessarily trying to play with your emotions by way of dreaming the possibility to take a hookup with you and y'all can do some things and blah, 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 which happens a lot because people just happen to just sign on and hey, okay, oh yeah, right, this that, another, uh-huh, and yet 2/3 of the things that keep us from actually indulging into taking these hints or whatnot is due to the mere fact of yeah, 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 I hear you, uh-huh, okay, there is no faith. A lot of cases it's just due to the mere fact that once people connect with you or you think that people connect with you, the first thing that really honestly sets me at a state of red flagish is just due to the mere fact that they're um less capable or interested in basically being able to uh maybe even uh rather alert me or inform me as to another level of character, charm, or whatnot that exists within my demeanor, not by my offering, and yet my inner ADDHD and HD. And a lot of the story that comes behind that is so layered in errors and whatnot that yes, if I could probably write this shit into a screenwrite, Spike Lee and Tyler Perry would be fighting literally over who wants to put their name on this shit and how this is going to be longer than the new Black Panther. Yeah. Y'all ain't ready. Y'all ain't ready. Y'all ain't ready. It's like the little immigrant girl that falls in love with the CIA agent. You know, what's really funny is that the majority of these profiles and whatnot that we set out there usually stay out in cyber world so long that when somebody really honestly answers the call for something that was sought so long ago, rarely is it even possible that they even go, And yet, the more upper metaphysical you are in your purpose in life, the more awkward and unique. And in my case, this is WNDC. WNDC NDC. And I'm Alpha Master Pimp, Sir Easy, active dominant in the BDSM lifestyle since 1978. And POC uh, practitioner in the S&M lifestyle throughout the LBGTQIA NMLP um, master manipulator and mind muncher who really honestly be doing this kind of shit and put myself out in Front Street in such a manner that the reason why I'll never be trending is because I'll never be ending the ability of trying to share little nibbits of something that for most of you, it doesn't really mean a hill of beans because it's, I just roll in this whole different universe. And there are many people like me, but, very few of them that are like me. And therefore, this dating thing sucks now. Used to be back in the day before most of y'all motherfuckers understood some of the shit that could be happening. It was fun because you can catch a motherfucker and literally, I've never met and dealt with anyone my entire life who has left less educated and knowledgeable than they were when you met them. Keeping the mere fact that none of them were throwing shit back at me. I hate that motherfucker. If anything else, they would more or less be at a point of I hate that I can't roll. I mean, I like to. It seemed cool with this, that, and the other, but I would literally have to suck myself out of the other shit that has its hold on me. It's got my toe. And B, amps are easy. Incorporated. And not on the witness list for some dumb shit in the neighborhood. And yet, this dating shit is just dumb. What makes it even dumber is that, all right, I know I'm going long, but I'm going long. No matter which manner of morality I find anyone, one of my favorite stories will be how in my journey in learning management of clubs and whatnot, I was given the opportunity of uh, managing not just the nightclubs, but strip club. My man who ran that really honestly took a liking to me that, and if someone was to ask me at what point in your life would you like to go back and change where you decided to go, it would be this. And so this particular owner of this popular nightclub, strip club, was really, in a state of grooming me about this. He's like, man, the difference between being a manager in a nightclub and being a manager in a strip club is that each and every dancer, each and every person in there has a certain kind of caliber reality, almost like wrangling cats. Literally, and you really, and then understanding the nature of the industry and how these people, regardless of how you would define them socially, your business is about the business that they keep and continually to benefit from by way of being there and making exceptionally, good money, by exploiting a certain uh, dynamic that, most people would aspire to, on the side, i.e., the sex industry. And so I'm sitting back and they're like, yeah, man, I hear what you're saying. I said, but check this out. He told me, and I swear this is the biggest, most vivid lesson I've ever learned. And he sat back there and he was like, yo, man, so this place will change you. This thing will change you once you understand the nature of the beast into which you basically corral, into what, you allow to exist within this industry, that's existed since, and so I'm like, yeah, I hear what you're saying. She's like, okay, I'm going to let you have shift change. Shift change is really cool because first and foremost, whoever's supposed to be there wants to be there, make this money, they'll be there. So all you got to do is just be down there and ready so that anyone that slides their ass in a little late, gets to hear from the jump, hey, you're late. That's a $75 fine. You better hurry and take your ass up into the doggone thing and change and get up there, because when you hit that floor, it's the first fee you got to basically pay off for being here. Now that's pretty much about the script that, I was given as I'm sitting here, living this day, this evening in this place that still has grown to be so notorious that just the mention of its name would cause, oh, nigga, please. So anywho, so I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, just how difficult could this be? I hear what he's saying, but me and my upper metaphysical ass, I'm thinking of a whole lot of things we've talked about. I'm thinking about them by way of, God damn, man. Some people will swear up and down, what we do is exploit flesh. is exploit flesh. And the reality is, what we do is we harbor talent and try to exploit its reality or its existence to the best of its talent, and try to stay totally out of the realm of being accused of pimping. Because nowadays, people really honestly, the law has rules about what they identify or they define as pimping. And yet, you know, uh, nobody can actually define outside of the mental health field that actually states that um, the the instinct of hypersexuality is most identified by those who, out of everything else that they complain about having to go through in being a sex worker, they never complain about the sex. And nobody really wants to ask them about that because the numbers on certain people who are capable of indulging into these intimate acts with random unidentified species is often more challenging to a person's own ego and existence on a daily basis. And it's the one obstacle that apparently finds its way trending in our news on social media. Woman gets strong and decides, you know what? I ain't trying to go older. I ain't trying to go my age. Let me find this little young up and coming brother. Now she a cougar. Got this motherfucker out on Front Street. Everything is fine. Until all of a sudden, little hot ass Nancy does what basically back in the era of the manual of the executive secretary is expected of them in that realm. And well, not that I'm trying to get all Lewinsky on people, but when you're trying to get prepared for, accepting whomever is interested in you, possibly at this point in life, may in fact also have a few of these ringers. And I'm not saying that they're a bad thing if you can actually be outside of your head and your morality or whatever else that drives you. But I really honestly like somebody who's, um, uh, kind of extra crispy, with a degree of, you're damn right. Just due to the mere fact that, one of my driving forces is something established in my therapy. I was not created by some bad sex. It may not have been good sex, the right sex. It may not have been to intentionally create the person that I have become in more than 60 years now. But for the two that are noted in having found themselves in what has been known to have created me sexually, has not fallen in any form of depression of sorts. And thus, my value, my worth exists in things to that manner. And yet, the most uncomfortable thing for most people who are capable of actually accepting the resources that exist within me are people who are in a state where the loss of where they're at and what they have and the thought and the audacity of it in itself is more than even Jesus coming back and introducing each other can offer. Now, I'm not here to set the world on fire. I wouldn't mind keeping my own nuts warm. But as an upper metaphysical adult at grandparents level, you know, I'm not trying to run and politic for possible partners at the old folk home quite yet. And yet, sometimes I think a lot of times people, they don't want to really honestly be what they want to be because they really honestly don't want to actually be in a state of, you know what, sucks to be me. And if that's going to be a problem for you, I can understand. But it's time for me to be a responsible adult. And it's getting late. And my phone ain't basically acknowledged the possibility of my craving for anything more than what I have right here, right now. And that seems to be more and more of the personal struggle that each one of us wants to have when we even think about putting our asses out on Front Street for these dating kind of things, only to be, oh, man, you good?